Hello everyone, I have a new tool to show you, that is the surface peel. It lets you easily create all those details in the abandoned interior, for example. If you look at the mesh, we have these additional layers with the bubbles. Then it is all procedural, so we can adjust the settings on the fly and see it in real time. And there are some interesting settings. So for example, we can delete the peel islands by their size with this slider over here. Then we are using vertex groups, so for the cracks mask, if we go into the weight paint mode and where we paint, you'll see that the cracks disappear. And then we have some other settings. So for example, we have the peel push, which offsets the paint from the surface it's generated from. And then there are main settings, so there is reach, so how far the peeling effect goes. And then there is the roll, the rolling of the edges of those peel islands. You can see it over here, and for all of those we have additional masks. So like in the previous case, we can control it with vertex groups. So if I go into the weight paint mode with the vertex group for the roll, now with this set 2.5 we get extra level of control over the final look. And then we have the favor roll influence. That gives this interesting look where the rolling will happen only in the specific direction. So with it at 0, you can see that roll happens everywhere, and with the favor we can control it, and we can also invert this effect. And we have it also set up on the other wall. So over here we can see it in action. If we invert the direction, we get this nice look, which gives it, I believe, even more realism. And now another setting is the G-pencil cracks. So for this, if we have set it up, now we go into the draw mode of the G-pencil, and now with it set to the surface where we draw the strokes, you will see that the cracks will appear. And it can give us even more control over the art direction in which we want to go. And then there is the bubbles panel, so we get this nice effect with some more controls for it, with a mask also for it. And then finally we have the thickness setting, so we can give thickness to the peel islands with also some additional settings. And then finally we have the materials panel, and with the default material for the peel paint, we can control the edge wear. And then if we are happy with the result, this is how the final render can look. So this is it. And this tool is also good for some smaller assets and for curved surfaces also. So you can see it with the surface peel on and off over here. We'll go back to this example. However, now let's start from the very beginning, and we'll go top to bottom over the features of surface peel. So let's start with installing of this tool. So with it, we get the zip file. All we need to do is to unpack it. And there we have this folder, so we need to copy paste the directory to this folder and paste it into the file paths and user preferences. Once it's all done, the import method set to append or packed in Blender 5.0 will be good. And how this tool works is that underneath we have a simple plane. It is, however, subdivided. It has a reasonable amount of vertices that are evenly spread, since we'll be using vertex groups for some of the effects. So we need some vertices to paint them on. So you can see some roll mask, for example. And one tip I noticed when adding a group at the very beginning, sometimes the mesh would explode. So just adding and deleting it would fix that. I think it's something on the Blender side. And starting from the very top, first setting, we have the peel only. So it hides the surface underneath. Then next up, we have the mesh smoothing. It is very helpful for the corners. So there we don't need it, and the shape will retain, and the surface underneath won't protrude through it anymore. And then we have settings for the adaptive and culling. These are very helpful for optimizing the scene. So first of all, we need to set the camera over here, and if we have the camera picked for this modifier, then we can play with those settings. Let me adjust the modifier first a bit, and with those turned off, let's see it in action. So over here you can see camera culling, so anything outside of what camera sees will be hidden. And then there is the adaptive subdiv. So with this turned on, we can actually add one more subdivision, and now we can see those steps along the distance from the camera, and we have up to 4 steps for the adaptive subdiv. And then if we take a closer look at this panel, then there is the adaptive mode, so we can choose between the distance and the peel island. So here it happens for the peel islands, and here it happens for mesh in general. And overall, these settings will increase the speed at which this modifier works. So now let's move on to the peel pattern settings. And for this we have 3 patterns. So we have Voronoi, recursive, and the mix of the two. And over here in the Voronoi settings, we can change the offset, so we get this look. And we also can change the scale of this pattern. And actually, let me quickly fix one thing. So at the moment we don't need the erase vertex group in the masks. We'll get back to it in a second. And that will be it for the Voronoi pattern. And then we have the recursive pattern. It consists of those perpendicular lines and those rectangular shapes, and those break up nicely the Voronoi pattern when we mix those two patterns together. And now that we played with some of the settings, let's go for it and let's change the pattern to mixed. And now we can see that we get this nicer, more natural look of the peel islands. And the offset and the scale will work similarly for the Voronoi and for the recursive. And then we can change the mapping between the UVs or the 3D position of the mesh. And then let's move on to the peel settings. So first of all, we have the erase by area. We already used it. However, in additional masks, there is one extra setting, so we can set the vertex group to mask this effect. And then we have the cracks mask. So also like before, if we go into the weight paint mode with this vertex group selected where we paint, the cracks will disappear. And then we have the peel push. So it offsets all of the peel away from the surface underneath. We can use it if we are going for more than one layer of the paint on the wall, for example. And then other settings, so we have the reach and the roll. So this controls how far the peeling effect goes. And one way to go about it would be to exaggerate this effect, and then we can create a vertex group for the reach, for the masking of this effect. So let's call it reach. And then if we go into the weight paint mode, we will be able to mask the reach of this modifier. Yeah, I actually forgot to plug it in the modifier. So if we set it up over here, you will see that yeah, now this mask affects this reach effect in our modifier. And thanks to it, we get the full control over the final look of the peeling. And then there is the roll settings. So over here, like before, we can set the strength of the rolling of the peel at the edges. And for this, also like all those other settings, we can control it with the mask in this additional mask panel. Then we have the favor roll influence. This one is important, I believe, for the for adding more realism to the scene. And for this, we have some settings. So we have the invert favor, and also we can freely set the direction which we want to favor with this setting over here. And then finally in this panel we have those two settings, that is smooth borders and smooth peel. They give the final polish to the shape of the peel islands. And next up we have the sub-menu for the G-pencil cracks. So if we set it up right now, I will create an empty G-pencil. And now with this selected, let's move it over here in our outliner, and let's pick this G-pencil in the modifier. So now with this all set up, if we go into the draw mode, it is now important that we are in the surface mode for the painting. And now you will see that where we will draw the G-pencil, the cracks will appear. Notice, however, that those cracks are still affected by all of the masks. So we can nicely control still the reach, the roll of the peeling. And then we can cut through the peel islands, so we are really free to create a very unique look. And now, once again, let's take a look at the additional masks. So over here we have the erase masks and we have the smooth mask. And the smooth mask is very helpful once again for those corners, so the mesh won't protrude through the surface. And then we have the erase masks. Let me set it up once again. So I will remove the old erase mask and I will set it up from the beginning. And just a reminder, if the mesh would start exploding for any reason, you can create and remove the group. I found it to fix that problem. So let's create those two vertex groups. So first of them erased and the other one erase island. And let me show you the difference between the two. So right now, if we plug those vertex groups over here in the modifier, now we can go into the weight paint mode. And first with the erase vertex group selected, let me show you how it works. So now where we paint with this vertex group on, the mesh underneath will be deleted. However, if we go for the peel islands erase with the other vertex group selected, you will see that if I paint even one vertex, the whole peel island will disappear. However, you only need to be careful since it may delete big portions of the paint. Next up, we have another sub-panel that is Variance, and with it we can create a lot of randomness in the scene. So it will give us this randomness into the peel islands, and we have those settings for the reach and for the roll settings, and then we can cycle through the seed to find the result that we like the most. And now we get this look that is pretty unique without even going into vertex groups. And next up we have the bubbles, so it is another layer of detail that will give some additional realism to our scene. And over there we have some settings for it, like for example strength, size, threshold, offset and scale, similarly to the pattern settings. And it is important that when using the mask for this effect, that the name needs to be different from the output attributes, since we'll be using those in the material so that they don't get overridden. So the name bubbles mask will be all good. And like I mentioned, we can also change offset, for example. So that will be it for the bubbles. And next up, final mesh adjustments, a very important part, that is the thickness. And over here I am already using rim loops, and let's actually see it in the default state. So let me change the borders to sharp edges, and let's change the rim loops number to 0. So you can see that we get those nice flakes of the paint. However, we can also go for the rounded edges of the peel paint. And to do this, all we need to do is to set up the rim loops amount to 2, for example, and we can turn off the sharp edges, and then we'll get nice smoothly rounded peel paint flakes. And there is another setting that is very helpful when using the rim loops, that is fix normals. And you can see that without it we get this pretty rough shading. However, with this turned on, we get this nice smooth surface. So finally we have the material panel, and let me actually show it to you on the other example, that is the hydrant. So over here I have already set it up, and how it works for this object, I created two materials in Substance Painter. So one is for the paint on the surface, another is the metal underneath, and I just plug those into the base material and into the peel material. And then on top of that we have the back of the peel setting for the material when using the thickness. So let me change the roll actually so we can better see it. And now if I choose a different material for the back faces, You can see it in the viewport, so we can fine-tune the final look even more. And let me quickly reset the values for the roll for this asset. And then next up in the material panel we have the edgeware setting. It will work a bit differently in this case, so let me actually first show it to you on the default paint material that you get with the surface peel. So let's add the surface peel to the simple plane that I subdivided a couple of times. Let's increase the subdiv, and now once we check the edgeware, you will see it appear in the viewport, and we can play with some of the settings. So we have the crux slider, then we have the reach slider, so you can see it affect the edgeware in the material, and how it works if we would take a quick look at the material itself. So over here we have this shader where we can adjust the colors of the edgeware, we can adjust the roughness, the noise. So in general, it's just a simple node group that is actually using those attributes that I showed you before. So those attributes that are the edgeware and the bubbles. And over here, I can also adjust the dirt. And of course, we can as well change the color of the paint of the peel. And if we were also using the bubbles feature, we get the attribute for that as well. So we can play with it with the shader. So we can exaggerate those even more, and those are run by the attributes that are called bubbles, the edgeware, and back of peel. So it is important not to use the same names when using masks. And to go back to our hydrant, how it works for this is that in the shader I just use the attribute edgeware to mix two shaders together, and this is the result. So you have total freedom how you want to use the edgeware attribute, and you can use it to exaggerate those cracks even more. And also let's see it on the other part of this hydrant, and there you have it. This is edgeware in action, and this sums up the presentation of this tool. I'm really happy how this all came together. I think it's a pretty powerful tool to help you enrich the scene with lots of detail very quickly and easily. So this is Surface Peel. I hope you like it. You can get it on Gumroad and on Superhive. Thank you for watching.